Hello, this is Edith Neumaier, and I'm the author of the book, The Mystery of Adam. Well, this is my book, and you can find it on Amazon. And I'm encouraging you to buy this book and read it, of course. Since I'm the author, I want people to read it. Now, why is this book so important? Well, this book is very unique in that it claims that the first human being was not a man. And I'm talking about a male human being. Okay? This book claims that we do not know uh, from the biblical evidence that the first human being was a man. This, what I would probably call an opinion or an assumption, is the result of culture, of a male-dominated culture. And that's just the bottom line. Okay? You just can't say it any other way. Because we live in a fallen world, because human beings sinned and broke away from God, the stronger took over. And unfortunately, well, I don't know if I should say unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. Men took over because they are stronger physically than women. And so in a world that is under sin, the strongest will survive. This is a dog-eat-dog world, as some people say. And so, therefore, because of this is a male-dominated world, men started this assumption that the first human being was a man. Now, there's no evidence whatsoever, okay? In Genesis 1, and in the beginning of Genesis 2, the human being that was created and which was translated as man, there is absolutely no indication that that was a man. The original word is ha-adam. The Hebrew word is ha-adam. And this Hebrew word ha-adam is not a masculine word. In the opposite, when we look at Genesis 1, we see that this being was male and female at the same time. At no place did God create a man. In Genesis 1, he didn't create it. Then when we go to Genesis 2, in the beginning, we also see that God creates this human being, but that human being does not have a gender at that time. Okay? And God says, well, it is not good that this human being is alone. I will make this human being a helper. And not until he put this human being asleep and he took the whole side do we hear about Ish and Isha, man and woman. No place before that do we see that there's gender, a specific gender or sexuality that God has created. Of course, in Genesis 1, we hear he created them a male and female, but the human being was male and female. Okay? So we cannot assume that, therefore, in Genesis 2, that he creates a man. And again, he uses the same word that he used in Genesis 1, ha-adam. So that ha-adam, he gives this name ha-adam to the man and the woman, because we see that when we go to chapter 5 in Genesis, chapter 5:1, we see then that God created the human being. He created the male and female, and he called them ha-adam. Okay. Now the translations are just very incorrect, like lots of times. Okay. the translations are incorrect so many times. Okay, and so we have to be very, very careful. So that word was translated in the English into man. Now, man could also mean human being, but we assume, because of the historical belief or the historical assumption that the first human being was a man, we just assume, we just jump into that. It's almost like an automatic. We jump into believing that when we hear man, it means male. But when we look at, for instance, the German translation, it is not as obvious, because in the German translation, that word was translated, Adam was translated as Mensch. And Mensch is the same as in the Greek anthropos. Okay, if you look it up, anthropos in the Greek, that is the same word. That is not a male. That is anthropos, as in human being. Okay, not man. And so it is more obvious that God created a human being in the beginning. Okay, now I know a man is a human being. Okay, yeah, but so is a woman. Okay, so is a woman. And we all already heard that God created the man and the woman in Genesis 1. And then when we go to Genesis 2, it just becomes, now God is describing more in detail how this human being was created. Okay, that's the way I see it. I don't think they're two different creation accounts. I just think the first one is general, and then the second one is going into more detail, how God actually did this. Okay, what did he do? He created a human being which contained both the man and the woman. He takes the side, not the rib. Again, a false translation. Look up the original word for rib, which is sella. And sella does not mean rib at all. Okay, at all. It means side. So God takes the side of the human being and he forms. Now listen to this. It doesn't create. Create means he changes things. He forms. He takes all the ingredients that he takes out of that first human being and he forms the woman. Okay? Then, or actually before he forms the woman, he closes the side. And the man came into existence. Okay? The distinct form of a man. Then he adds finishing touch to the stuff he took away, which was half of the atom. Okay? Half of the atom was taken away. He forms the woman, and the woman came into existence. Now, biologically, you know that a woman is made out of different, well, some different stuff than Adam, right? I mean, the man. And the man has a Y chromosome. The woman doesn't have a Y chromosome. So how did this happen? How did God have Y and, two different kinds of biological masses in one human being, and then all of a sudden he takes one out and he changes the other? Well, we can say maybe he did it, but the fact remains that he took the whole side. Okay, that's why the man now can say, hey, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. He didn't just say, oh, this is now a rib of me. No, he didn't even say that. He said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Okay, so she is the same as me. Okay, she is the same as me, and yet in a sense different. Okay, so that's what my book is about. It is a bold statement for everybody to look at the original creation account and to see if what we have been believing or what we have been brainwashed to believe is the truth. Now, during Jesus's time, there were still many sages, many rabbis, many Orthodox groups that believed, Jewish Orthodox groups, that believed that the first human being was actually a man and a woman, okay? And that the first human being was not a man. There's actually a lot of still, I mean, during Jesus' time, probably they were at least half-half. If you read Philo, he wasn't quite sure. He actually does state that the first human being was very different, and that the form, the distinct form of the man and the woman, did not come into existence until Genesis 2. Okay, he says that. But yet he still believed all the other false assumptions that the Jews taught during Jesus' time. Okay, these false assumptions, when you read Talmud, then you will become familiar with those false assumptions about women. These false assumptions are not from the Bible. They are only from the Talmud. And the Talmud is a written account of the interpretations of Torah. That's what it is. Somebody's opinion. Somebody's opinion. Okay? So there's I have a lot of people in my book of the original sages. Not only sages, but I've also found a monk, 1200, that still believed that the first human being was a man and a woman in one. And that when God took the side of the first human being, that the man and the woman received their distinct form. Now, however, this changed after the fall. After the fall, well, I shouldn't say it changed, but after the fall, our world became corrupt. And because of our corruption, because now we're not connected to love anymore, and we have to fend for ourselves and become very selfish, the man took over, and that's when hierarchy started, not before. Okay, before God created a helper for both the woman and the man. Now, if the man would be the only one having a helper, what would happen to the woman? Don't you think she needs a helper as well? Of course she needs a helper. Okay, they both needed a helper. They both needed a helper. The woman cannot stand alone either, neither can the man. And so they both need a helper, and God created a helper for both of them. There is nothing negative about being a helper. It's not an assistant and it's not a servant. Okay? It is an equal helper and an equal partner. However, this changed after the fall. After the fall, the man and the woman became extremely selfish. And because they became extremely selfish, hierarchy was the result. Now the man took over the ruling, or let's say the strongest human being, which always most of the time ends up as being a man. Now, see, other men were not excluded from being ruled over either. All men don't rule, okay? It's always the strongest man that is up and ruling. Okay, and human beings have not gotten it together to actually create a society where people are equal and where people live in a democracy. We are called a democracy in the United States, but we are far from a democracy, very, very far. Okay, matter of fact, we have a very, very strong hierarchy, and our whole society is built on hierarchy, and it is built extremely on competition and the stronger winning. Okay, whoever wins has the most toys, period. Okay, nobody cares, that we should be before God equal. Not even our churches, and I go into detail in my book. Because of male dominance, that took over everything. Okay, the Old Testament patriarchs, they were male dominant. I mean, they had a male dominance. Okay, that's just the way it is because they lived in a sinful world. Okay, you go into the church which Jesus established, and what happened? Well, after a short period of time, it went right back into a hierarchy and male dominance. And I'm saying in my book that that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. Hierarchy does not have a place in the church or in the Christian family. Doesn't matter. Okay? Christian family or the church, it doesn't matter. There is no hierarchy. Hierarchy needs to be eradicated. There is no hierarchy in the Trinity, okay? And there need to be no hierarchy in the church. No hierarchy in the marriage either. Now, if you can't create a marriage that is without hierarchy, you need help, okay? You need people that know how to have a marriage without hierarchy. Now, of course, how hard is that? Having a marriage without hierarchy. Well, I think it's very hard because even after 2,000 years of church history, we have a very hard time to create churches which are according to Jesus's instructions, okay, or the Holy Spirit. Paul got instructions from the Holy Spirit how to organize the church. Or should I say organize? I don't know. But how to run the church. How the church should run. Okay? How the church should run. And the church is not an organization. It is an organic body. Okay? Now, my first 70 or 75 videos on my YouTube channel, they are about my book. Okay, they are basically about male-dominated history, about Jesus coming, changing that history, starting a church that is without hierarchy, and it talks a little bit how the church, for instance, and marriage should be run. Now, the next videos that I started making is research on my second book, which is called The Mystery of the Second Adam, or The Mystery of the Real Adam. Okay? Now, the first Adam is not so important because the first Adam is only a symbol. Now, I'm telling you, the first Adam, which of course doesn't exist anymore, was only a shadow of the real Adam. And who is the real Adam? Well, the real Adam is Messiah. Okay, so most of my videos are going also into showing who Messiah is and the mystery around Messiah. Now think about this. If the mystery of Adam is great, and it is, okay, it is still a big mystery. Why? Because most people still are stuck in male-dominated history. Okay, that is exactly why we are stuck in believing that the first human being was a man, because we're stuck in male-dominated history. Even our churches are stuck in male-dominated history. Okay, they have a hard time coming out of it. So, but we need to look. We need to look at the second Adam, or Messiah, and understand the mystery around Messiah, because just like the first Adam was not a man, okay, but he was a man and a woman, so is also the second Adam, which is what? Messiah. Messiah is also male and female. Now, who is the female part? Who is hiding inside Adam? Who is hiding inside Adam? It is the church. The church was hidden for thousands of years in Messiah. And even today, Even today, we don't have the right understanding of what the church is. The church is the bride of Christ. Now, we know that, but do we know that the bride of Christ is also hidden, or was hidden, in Messiah? She was literally hidden in Messiah. And someday, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, will come back, join to his bride again, just like the man will leave father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they should become one. So will Jesus Christ will come down to this earth to reunite with his bride, and they will become one again. Okay, one again. Now, what great a mystery is that? And that is the theme of my new book that I have not written, but I'm doing research on it right now. So buy my book and get familiar with the mystery of Adam. Get familiar, because we are so stuck in this belief that the first human being was a man, that is skewing everything we believe about Messiah, and also about how the church should function and how marriage should function. So it's very important that you get the right mindset. And yes, somebody said I'm crazy, but no, I'm not crazy. But read my book or listen to my other videos and decide for yourself. So you can either say, yes, she is really crazy, or wow, no, she has something there. Maybe I need to study a little more. Well, I'm going to finish up my video, and I hope you will buy my book. I know I want to really thank my subscribers, because I've never thanked them, and I'm really very appreciative of those people that did subscribe to my channel. And if you have not bought this book, well, go buy it. Now, here's an offer. If you are a subscriber and you don't have my book, please send me your email address through my Facebook, and I will send you a free copy. So let me know if you don't have a copy of my book yet, and you are a subscriber. Please send me your email. Even you can even send it on, but you probably don't want people to know your address. But send it to me on my Facebook. On the privacy bubble, so nobody can see your address. And I will send you a free copy of my book, The Mystery of Adam. And I will talk to you later.